All right, let's take a moment and talk about Bob Fosse. Bob Fosse is widely regarded as the last great Broadway choreographer. Now, what I mean by that, that's said in a broad sense. It doesn't mean that there haven't been great choreographers since him, but from a wider pop culture perspective, Bob Fosse is that last one to create a style that is so distinct and so uniquely his that it transcends Broadway. You know, Jerome Robbins was probably one of the first of those. Bob Fosse is kind of the last. In fact, his stuff is so well known that you probably know some of it and you don't even realize it. For instance, if you've ever seen Jazz Hands, you've seen a Bob Fosse move. All right. So Bob Fosse, choreographer, director, dancer, actor. If you've ever seen the holiday film White Christmas, he is the principal male dancer in that. That's before he kind of became Bob Fosse. We first mentioned him way back when I was talking about the pajama game. I said that we were going to come back to him. Well, here we go. So his dances, very representative of the time, very representative of him personally. You'll pardon the expression, but his dances were a lot more sexual than previous ones. A lot of pelvic thrusts, and not just kind of in a little, ooh, ah, kind of hip bounce kind of thing. Like, no, really suggestive. You knew what he was getting at. Dances were very physically demanding, even for highly trained dancers, and full of a big burst of joyous energy as well as bleak cynicism. So that's an interesting combination. Dances that were both energetic, and yet the musicals that he directed and the dances that he did were usually in some bleaker, more darker subject matter inspired work. That's a terrible sentence I just said, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Because you know what? I'm proud of my faults. I'm proud of the fact that I just said a terrible sentence. Why do I bring that up? Because it's an excellent segue into talking about what defined Bob Fosse's style. There are certain things that really defined Fosse's dances, and again, you know his dances when you see him. So we already talked about, way more sexuality in his stuff than had been seen before. But there was also some little things like the shoulder. The shoulder roll is very Fosse. We talked about the jazz hands. You can't see it, but he turned his feet inward as well as his knees. Okay. He would incorporate things like chairs, gloves. The bowler hat became, a big Fosse thing. All right. So going back to my original segue, the way he developed his personal dance style is by taking all the things that people said were wrong with him as a dancer and pushing them to the forefront. Okay? He said that he started using the bowler hat so much because he started going bald. He didn't like his hands. He felt his hands were too small. So he started wearing gloves. He walked with a little bit of a hunch, so hence the shoulder roll. His feet, they always tell dancers and ballet dancers, you got to turn your feet out. His kind of naturally went in, so he just went the complete opposite way with it and turned them very in. So everything that made up one of his dances is stuff that he didn't like about himself. And he once said, "Thank God I wasn't born perfect." Also very inspired by vaudeville, old comedians. His dances would include a lot of pratfalls, double takes, sleight of hand, and things of that nature. He also wanted his dances to include the subtext of the character, not just, the open joy of, yay, we're dancing, but what is really going on down in their soul. And you see that in things like the Pajama Game, and especially in Chicago, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Big thing about Fosse, big thing you got to know about him, uh, because it's, aside from just all this other great stuff, Bob Fosse is the only director in history, to win an Oscar, a Tony, and an Emmy, all for directing, all in the same year. It was like a clean sweep. That's how damn good he is.